Have you ever felt like you're just spinning your wheels? Putting in all this effort, but just not getting those massive, life-changing results you're after? Well, what if the problem isn't your work ethic at all, but the actual size of your goals? Today, we're diving deep into Grant Cardone's The 10X Rule. It's a pretty radical idea that says to get extraordinary results, you have to aim 10 times higher and work 10 times harder than you ever thought you needed to. And right out of the gate, you can feel the intensity of this book. This isn't about setting nice, realistic goals. Cardone's whole point is that the second you put a ceiling on what you want, you've already lost. The entire 10X mindset starts by just completely erasing any limits you've put on yourself and your own potential. So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll get into what the 10X rule actually is. Then, we'll look at the 4 different levels of action you can take. After that, we'll talk about the mindset you need to make this work, what really happens when you start succeeding, and finally, a super clear starting point for you. Let's do this. All right, first things first, what exactly is this 10X rule? Well, at its heart, it's about a complete reset of how you think about your goals and the amount of work it takes to hit them. And there it is, plain and simple. You take whatever goal you have and you multiply it by 10. Then you look at the effort you think it'll take to get there and you multiply that by 10 too. Now, why would you do that? Because, as Cardone says, we are terrible at estimating what it really takes to win. Every single plan we make gets hit with unexpected problems, delays, and just plain bad luck. So you need to plan for 10 times the effort just to be safe. This really lays out the formula perfectly, doesn't it? It's a 2-part system. You can't have one without the other. See, dreaming up massive goals without taking massive action, well, that's just daydreaming. And taking tons of action toward tiny, average goals, that's just a recipe for burnout. You absolutely need both, the giant target and the relentless hustle to make it happen. Okay, so let's talk about the engine that drives this whole thing, the 4 degrees of action. It's not just about doing more, it's about a very specific kind of action that separates the winners from everyone else. So here are the 4 levels. First, you have doing nothing. That's just giving up. Then retreating, which is even worse. You're actively running away from your goals. Third is taking normal action. This is where most of the world lives. Doing just enough to get by, to be average. But Cardone says this is actually the most dangerous place to be. The only level that actually creates real success is that 4th one, taking massive action. And when you see them side by side like this, it's so clear. Average action feels safe, but it's a trap. It's fragile. The second things get tough, average effort just crumbles. Massive action, though, that's about owning your space, not just showing up. And look at that point. It creates new problems. We're going to come back to that because it's actually a really, really good thing. But let's be real, taking massive action all the time would be completely exhausting if you don't have the right mindset. You need the right fuel. And that means you have to fundamentally rewire how you think about success, failure, and what you're capable of. These are the fundamentals, the non-negotiables. First, success is not just a nice to have. It's your duty, an obligation. Second, you have to take total control. No more blaming the market, your boss, or bad luck. Victims don't win. Third, you gotta get obsessed. Your goals need to be the first thing you think about in the morning and the last thing at night. And finally, you have to be unreasonable. Reasonable goals get reasonable results. You want what other people think is completely impossible. I love this quote because it flips everything on its head. That feeling of being restless, that little voice telling you that you can do more, that's not a bad thing. That's a sign that your ambition is fired up and ready to go. You should be a little dissatisfied because it's the very thing that's going to push you to reach your real potential. So when you start operating at this new 10X level, some things are going to start to happen. And what most people would call problems, the 10X rule says, are actually signs that you're doing something right. Seriously, just think about it for a second. If you start making 10 times the phone calls or putting out 10 times the content, basically showing up 10 times more than anyone else in your field, what do you think is going to happen? 2 things are pretty much guaranteed. First, you're going to create new problems. But these are good problems. Problems like, oh no, we have too many customers, or we need to hire more people to handle all this growth. And second, you are going to attract critics. People who are stuck in average action will call you crazy, obsessed, or workaholic. You have to see this as a sign that you're breaking away from the pack. It's not something to be afraid of. It's something you should expect. Okay, I get it. This all sounds, well, intense. So the big question is, where do you even begin? Luckily, Cardone gives us a really clear step-by-step way to get started, like right now. Here it is, your 5-step launch sequence. First, write down those goals and think big. Don't shrink them down to be realistic. Second, don't get stuck on how you're going to do it. That'll just paralyze you. Third, just ask yourself, what can I do today? Then, and this is the most critical part, go do it right now. Don't wait for motivation to strike. Action comes first, motivation follows. And finally, look at that list of goals every single day to keep them front and center. And when you boil it all down, that's really the message here. The 10X rule is about trading in all your excuses for just an overwhelming amount of action. It's about creating so much activity, so much momentum, that your success basically becomes inevitable. It's about letting your results do all the talking for you. So I'll just leave you with this one question to really think about. We all have excuses, right? We're all experts at coming up with reasons not to do something. The only way to beat those excuses is to have a goal that's so big, so compelling, so important to you that it makes every excuse look tiny and ridiculous in comparison. So, are yours?